Yeah, my apologies for not posting a video Monday. I was a little triggered about what happened on Sunday, and also the fact that I still play the game. Mario Tour's new season dropped, and safe to say, I got fucked over. Just imagine being in one of the most above average tiers for pretty much the entire season, but then still getting dropped to gold. Like, what kind of fuckery is this? Thankfully, the first two monkeys I played were dubs, and I ended up going right back to plat. Like, come on, man. It's time for this bot to realize that I am a plat player, at least. Because I'm out for blood now. I'm not listening to what anybody says anymore. I'm just gonna play my game. I don't care if I fuck people over. Yeah, I'm just gonna play my game, man. Just know that. Yeah, I don't give a damn what people say about me anymore, because I ain't gonna listen to that. I ain't gonna listen to that shit. Like, I'm gonna be playing my own game, and I'm just gonna fuck with everybody else's game. In MKT, of course. Not Call Mobile, because obviously that's a team game and you gotta play with your team. Something that some people do struggle to do in my skill level. Well, they're not exactly my skill level, are they? Anyways, welcome back to Grizzly Talks Football. We're on the next 50 episodes, which is really exciting. We have Week 18 NFL reactions. The final week of the regular season has officially come to an end. We're going to be talking about all the games that happened. Once again, if you are new to this series, I will leave a link in the description to make sure that you guys are all caught up with every episode. Every episode is in the playlist up to this point. You also have it for future episodes on the days that I post them. Also, don't forget to hit the red subscribe button somewhere down there. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single video. Make sure you smash that like button. I did go 11-5 in the final week of the season. It's not terrible. I mean, my final record now is 184-88. That's not bad at all. It really isn't. I was hoping maybe I would get to 200, but I think the disastrous couple of weeks that I've had, I think it really did sting. But, this was basically for fun. It wasn't for money, so, it's all good. However, without further ado, let's get to the games. Final week of the regular season. Let's go! Kicking things off, we got the doubleheader from Saturday. First up is the Cleveland Browns getting absolutely smacked by the Ravens, 35-10. Yeah, they got their asses kicked. To be fair, the Browns weren't really playing for shit. Like, they were just really trying to get a very good draft pick. And now, based on all the game's results, they have the number 2 pick. And you're going to see a couple games on why that happened. Also, fun fact, I did not know Bailey Zappi was on the Browns. And he sucked. Safe to say, this Browns offense wasn't that good at all. Like, Dorian Thompson-Robinson had 3 passes, but then Bailey Zappi came in and he played horrible. In addition to throwing 2 interceptions, he also threw 1 touchdown to Jordan Akins. He and Jerry Jeudy led receiving with 63 and 60 yards, both with 6 receptions. And the Browns defense couldn't help either because, they couldn't get a single turnover or sack in this entire game. Sucks to suck, Cleveland. You're back in the doldrums of mediocrity. Ravens offense and defense had some good games. Jackson had 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. Derrick Henry 140 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Rashad Bateman led receiving with 5 catches for 76 yards and score. Mark Andrews got the other touchdown. 2 sacks in this game for Baltimore's defense, and there were also 2 interceptions. One by Nate Wiggins, who returned it for a touchdown. There was also Michael Pierce, who had an interception. That's interesting. We got a thick pick once again, even though Nate Wiggins got the defensive touchdown. This one also means that the Ravens have clinched the AFC North Division title and the 3 seed in the AFC playoff side. But there was also another game that pretty much secured the Ravens' AFC North title. That's because even if the Ravens lost to the Browns, Pittsburgh lost to the Bengals. 19-17, the final. Bengals got the job done. Unfortunately for Cincinnati, they could not get any help from the other teams. They needed 2 teams to lose. One of them lost, and the other one, well, they shut out their opponents. You're going to see what happened there in just a little bit. But anyways, Pittsburgh, you had one job, just win the game, and you couldn't even do that. And now, instead of having a 5 seed, you're going to have the 6 seed We're going to talk about an AFC West matchup that made that happen as well. I gotta say, in Joe Burrow standards, this might be one of his worst games of the season. 280 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Somehow Khalil Herbert got himself as a running back, and he actually did decent. Jamar Chase led receiver with 10 catches for almost 100 yards and the only touchdown through the air. Good hell, there were 4 sacks by his defense. And guess what? 3.5 came from the NFL's sack leader this year, Trey Hendrickson, who has, I believe, 17.5. How come this guy is the sack leader, yet this defense struggled all season? That I will never ever know. Unless, of course, it's through the linebackers at secondary, because, oh dear, that was rough. I also want to give a shout out to Cade York, their kicker, for getting 4 field goals and 13 total points in this game. He was pretty much the MVP of this game. That's safe to say that Russell Wilson didn't really do much better. He did throw a touchdown and 150 yards. Rushing game was bad, except for Najee Harris's touchdown. Pat Freiermuth was pretty much the one-man show in the receiving corps. 8 catches, 85 yards, and the only touchdown through the air. 4 sacks as well by Pittsburgh's defense, except they get an interception from Mr. Beanie Bishop. Welcome back. How do you win the turnover battle but still lose? Like, that's just sad. The past few games for Pittsburgh's offense has not been their cup of tea at all. That's not going to be good when they play the Ravens, who have a good rushing defense. Well, the passing defense is a little bit worse, but it's actually gotten a little better, so Pittsburgh might be screwed next week. Good job for the Bengals to go on a 5-game winning streak to finish above 500. Unfortunately, though, it wasn't enough to give them a playoff bid because of one other game I will talk about. But anyways, let's get to the Sunday 1 o'clock games, because this was the last of the Saturday games. And here comes the Sunday games now. Yes, I know, we're clowns for losing to the Panthers, but the Buccaneers played the Saints, and their game finished earlier than us. And you're going to see the result of that game soon enough, but after that result of that game, it was really worthless to win that game because we weren't making the playoffs regardless. But Carolina Panthers beat the Falcons for the 2nd year in a row. We split the series again, 44-38 the final. Can I please give a shout out to Bryce Young? This man had 275 total yards, and he had 5 total touchdowns. 3 passing and 2 rushing. Miles Sanders, of course, had a rushing touchdown as well. But Bryce Young was the MVP of this game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That man was balling against us. I think getting benched earlier in the season was the best thing that could have happened to Bryce, because this man's confidence before he got benched was absolutely shattered. Like, this team fed him to the wolves, and he couldn't do a damn thing about it. He just had to play his game, and unfortunately he struggled. But now it's safe to say that Bryce actually was a pretty solid pick. Not better to CJ, but a very solid pick. 3 touchdown passes were to Miles Sanders, Tommy Tremble, and David Moore, even though Jalen Coker had a pretty impressive game receiving 7 catches for 62 yards. Both defense struggled. Jadeveon Clowney got the only sack, and Mike Jackson got the only interception for Carolina's defense, even though Bryce Young didn't turn the ball over really a single time. But both defense struggled regardless, and it really just came down to which offense was going to show up, and apparently it was Carolina's. That's not taken away from Michael Penix and Bijan Robinson having good games. I mean, Penix easily had his best game of the season. 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick. He had a rushing touchdown also. And Bijan having 170 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Very nice. And man, Drake London also had a great game. Almost forgot about him. 10 catches, almost 200 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That big 3 is going to be a problem. If only we had a good defense. Like, I love Bijan, I love Drake, I love Penix, but we needed a lot of defensive help, and unfortunately, as far as this game, we did not get very much. Blame could also be on Riley Patterson for missing one of the field goals that he attempted. If he would have just made both of his field goals, we would have won this game in regulation. It would have been, I believe it was going to be 41-38, but of course he didn't. Once again, I didn't give a shit about this game ever since Tampa Bay must have handled their business. Well, you're going to see what happened in that game a little bit later, but We screwed Carolina out of their good pick, so yay for us, I guess, for fucking with them. Absolutely screwed them out of a great pick it would have been. Carolina is better than their record shows, though. Let the record be straight here. I'm not speaking this because I'm salty. I'm speaking this because it's the truth. Up next, the Texans take care of business against the Titans, 23-14. A little bit closer than I would have liked, but I heard that C.J. Stroud either got injured or he just got sat out because he actually had a good drive and then he got sat out for Davis Mills, which is a little interesting, but I think he just got rested. But the true MVP of this game, of course, had to be Dameon Pierce. 19 carries, almost 10 yards a carry, 180 yards and a score. This guy was running all over the Titans defense. Yeah, Titans having a good defense, my ass. Only touchdown pass was to Nico Collins. Game really didn't matter much. They're just going to have to see what happens in the playoffs. There were 2 sacks in this game. Derek Barnett had a fumble recovery for a touchdown as well. Mario Edwards also had a sack. And I'm very sure this is the second defensive touchdown for Derek Barnett this season. Yeah, it definitely is. Titans switched quarterbacks. Will Levis had a really good throw to one of his receivers, but that was pretty much the big highlight of this entire game for the Titans. Tony Pollard had 62 rushing yards, but 2.8 yards a carry. Ouch. Who got the touchdown? That would be Devontavian Martin. I hope I said that right, for a 49-yard score. Only sack of the game was by Harold Landry. Titans defense couldn't really do much else. Congratulations, Tennessee Titans. This loss means you are the Tank Bowl champions this year and you have possession of the #1 overall pick. I think it's safe to say the Will Levis era is already over because more than likely than not, Titans are drafting a quarterback. And Houston, good luck against LA Chargers. You're going to need it against Jim Harbaugh. Next up, the Giants losing to the Eagles 20-13. It's good for them because it really helps their draft pick, but if they would have just lost to the Colts, they would have had the #1 pick easily at a 2-15 record, but of course they choked it away. Obviously, Drew Lock came back down to earth with 140 yards, a touchdown pick. Well, at least he was efficient. Rushing game was a bunch of mid. Malik Neighbors, on a spectacular season, had 5 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown. I'm very sure he had over 1,000 yards this season. Only 2 sacks for the defense, including 1.5 from Kayvon Thibodeau, but I gotta be honest, it's a little bit too late to be showing your true colors now because this season was lost from the get-go. Rushing game, of course, was lost without Saquon. Tanner McKee, once again, absolutely tearing it up. 270 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, a 27-41. He should be the backup instead of Pickett, honestly. Jahan Dotson almost got 100 yards receiving with 7 catches, knowing that he was the starting receiver for this game because I'm very sure the Eagles rested a lot of their starters. And Nice Smith and E.J. Jenkins got touchdowns in this game, I gotta be honest. Thinking it's week 18 and no loss for any of these situations, it's really hard to figure out some of these names. And the thing about the defense is that Sidney Brown got an interception. I have not said that name in ages. Giants, I believe, had a little bit more to play for than the Eagles because Philadelphia was actually locked into 2 seed, and they're going to face Green Bay. You're going to find out why in just a minute. Next up, we had the Colts beating the Jags in overtime, Jacksonville losing 23-26 at the end of the game. I'll be honest, the Carolina-Atlanta game was a much better overtime game than this one, hands down. Matt Jones was mid, 240 total yards, a touchdown and a pick through the air. Tank Bixby had the only rushing touchdown, the real only highlight of this Jacksonville rushing game. And may I ask another question? What the hell happened to Travis Etienne? He was balling out last year, and now he just sucks now. But let me tell you something. Brian Thomas is going to be an elite receiver. He's going to be like a future All-Pro. 7 catches, 100 yards this game, but there are great things coming his way. Parker Washington got the only touchdown. Yeah, it was just a rough game for both sides. I guess at least Jacksonville got 3 sacks, including one for Trayvon Walker, one for Devin Lloyd, who I haven't said in a while. At least Cam Little had a good game. 3 field goals, 11 total points. He wasn't terrible at all. He's actually a pretty good kicker, and I heard that he had a 93% kicking rate on field goals. Good for him. I gotta be honest, the Colts quarterback situation is a whole mess. Like, Joe Flacco may play a game pretty solid, and then he'll pretty much suck. Anthony Richardson, he's kind of the same thing. At least Jonathan Taylor's elite, 180 yards rushing on 5 yards a carry and a score. Only touchdown pass went to Alec Pierce, his weekly long touchdown for like most of the season. Josh Downs led receiver with 7 catches for almost 100 yards. 2 sacks and an interception by Julian Blackmon for the Colts defense. Like, it wasn't terrible, but as far as the game, how the game went, it really wasn't great. But Matt Gay was pretty much the MVP of this game. 4 of 5 field goals, including the game winner in overtime, and 14 total points. Very impressive stuff from him. Unfortunately, he's going to be retiring soon. This game literally meant nothing except, well, the Colts got a worse draft position. That's pretty much the only thing that happened. Up next, the Commanders beat the Cowboys on the road 23-19 to secure the 6th seed in the NFC playoffs. Were we really even that surprised? Dallas was supposed to be trying to lose. Commanders were trying to get a better seed. Like, were we really expecting Dallas to win this game? Probably not. Hopefully Jaden Daniels isn't completely hurt and he'll be available for the postseason game against, I believe, Tampa Bay. Yes, Tampa Bay has the 3 seed as well. He actually got hurt. Marcus Mariota came in and balled out. I mean, he had 3 total touchdowns, 200 total yards. This guy was unstoppable all game. 2 touchdowns went to Terry McLaurin and Zach Ertz, the 2 usual people to get touchdowns this season for Washington. And 2 sacks for the defense, because why not? Oh yeah, welcome back, Jonathan Allen. Trey Lance got his first start this season as a Dallas Cowboy, and he played decent. 250 yards. Rico Dowdle got the only touchdown in the game, believe it or not. And the leading receiver was actually Jalen Tolbert with 4 catches for almost 100 yards without CeeDee Lamb. 6 sacks for the Cowboys defense, including 2.5 from Michael Parsons and 1.5 from Chauncey Golston. A little bit too late for the defensive line to show what they were made of, right? And let me tell you something, Brandon Aubrey's an elite kicker. Let me tell you that much. 4 of 4 field goals, he made 13 points. Clearly the MVP for the Dallas Cowboys. I hate to say it, but that's just the reality of Dallas Cowgirls football. How we feeling now, School Recruiter? Say it with me. How about those Cowboys? Up next, we had a little big upset here with Chicago for the first time since 2018, getting a win over Green Bay, snapping an 11-game losing streak, 24-22. Off a Cairo Santos game-winning field goal. How about that? Literally both of these matchups came down to a field goal. How crazy is that? Oh, Keenan Allen, you threw an interception, but Caleb Williams played decent anyway. 150 passing yards, a touchdown. DeAndre Swift also with a rushing touchdown. One-man show in the receiving corps, and for the Bears, it was DJ Moore. 9 catches, 86 yards, and the only score through the air. That is Thomas Brown's first win as an interim head coach. 3 sacks for the defense, but I played enough to be able to get the victory here, even though they did allow the touchdown to a 2-point conversion at the end. But it really doesn't matter when you got the win anyway. Passing game wasn't that great. I mean, Jordan Love and Christian Watson got injured in this game. Malik Willis was really trying to lead out the run with Emmanuel Wilson and Josh Jacobs scoring touchdowns. The rushing game was very solid for Green Bay. Oh yeah, and there's also a Xavier McKinney interception. I can't forget that at all. He might be leading the league or something. I can't remember. Congratulations, Chicago, on getting your first win over Green Bay in, I believe, 6 years. Now go get yourself an offensive line. As for Green Bay, you're going to need a lot of miracles to beat Philadelphia. And this was the game that pretty much eliminated Atlanta from making the playoffs. Buccaneers defeat the Saints after coming back from down 16-6 at halftime, 27-19. If Tampa Bay didn't win this game, we would have actually played a lot harder. I will tell you that right now. And the Falcons actually had the 15th overall pick. Not horrible. I mean, considering our team is young, we should be on the rise at this point. We just need to draft some defenders. Terry, if you draft an offensive tackle, I'm going to freaking strangle you right now. Not really. Nah, I'm a nice guy. But seriously, draft a defender, please, in the first round. In the first round. You got that, right, Terry? I'm going to ignore the rushing game except for the fact that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is now in the Saints. That's interesting. Spencer Rattler had such a good start at the start of this game, and then his team only gets 3 points at the second half. 240 yards and a touchdown, most of this in the first half, of course. Dante Pettis got the only touchdown, and the leading receiver was Jawan Johnson, 6 catches for 80 yards. A sack by Nephi Sewell, I haven't said that name yet, and an interception by Jordan Howden, another name I haven't said yet. Oh boy, how did this defense crumble before our very eyes? And shout out to Blake Griff for 4 field goals and 13 total points. He and Brandon Aubrey should be given some participation trophies or something because they were the MVP of the losing teams. As for Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield, 2 touchdowns and an interception. Bucky Irvin once again proving why he is the best running back on this team. Almost 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. And a big congratulations to Mike Evans for having his 11th straight 1,000-yard season, tying Jerry Rice's record. I would love to see him break that next year. He's definitely not retiring. Anyways, touchdowns were to Payne Durham and Jalen McMillan. 2 sacks for Tampa Bay, included 1 for Vita Vea, but the defense proved that it can be clutch whenever it needs to, and they proved that against New Orleans at home. You did beat Washington in the season opener. See if you could do it again in the playoffs. Oh yeah, and that was with Chris Godwin. You're a different team now. Let's see what happens. And finally, for the Sunday 1 o'clock slate, we had the Bills losing to the Patriots 23-16. The Patriots choked away the number 1 pick. How is it possible for back-to-back weeks, the team with the number 1 pick choking it away 2 weeks in a row? Like, that's unbelievable. That might be one of the first times that's happened in the NFL's history. Let me know if there was like another year that happened. Or maybe NFL has a YouTube channel, right? Tell them to help me out and see what years that back-to-back teams with number 1 pick getting wins and choking that number 1 pick away. Obviously, Josh Allen did not play in this game. He didn't need to because Bills were locked in the 2 seed. They should have probably just taken their starters out. I probably could have picked the Patriots, but knowing it's New England, it would have probably been a ugly loss, but it turned into a Patriots win, so congratulations, New England. But anyways, Mitchell Trubisky actually threw the only passing touchdown. James Cook got the only rushing touchdown. I mean, they played mid. And the touchdown that went through the air went to Ray Davis. And Curtis Samuel led receiving, but I don't think anybody really cared. Von Miller had a sack, but that was pretty much it for that defense. I don't know what happened. It just seems like every time Bills and Patriots clashed, like the past 2 years, it's like everybody's worrying that New England might pull off a trap game, and this was one of them. How about Joe Milton as the 3rd-string quarterback coming in and getting 2 total touchdowns, 1 passing, 1 rushing? Really good stuff from him. He would be a great backup quarterback for anybody. I mean, if the Falcons want to give up Kirk Cousins and go for Joe Milton, they can. I literally just don't want Kirk Cousins to be our backup. Like, get somebody else to be our backup. Like, I don't need Kirk Cousins standing there in the pocket, not being able to run around, having to be the backup. Like, that's our worst case scenario right now. And the lone passing touchdown went to Kayshon Boutte. I can't believe I said his name again. 7 catches, 120 yards in the score. Very impressive game. No sacks or interceptions, but it really didn't matter because the Patriots got it done when they needed to. More or less. Shout out to Joey Sly for a good kicking game as well. Bills are going to be playing some 7th seed team I'll be talking about a little bit later in the 425 slate, but New England choked away their number 1 pick. They're still having a top 5 pick, but I mean, there's probably still going to be Travis Hunter, so it's not really the end of the world unless one of the top teams ahead of them actually take Travis Hunter. Then it will be like a panic attack. And now we're in the 425 slate for Sunday. Chargers clinched the 5 seed in the AFC. beating the Raiders 34-20. Raiders could have cared less about this game. Chargers, they had everything to play for. And I cannot believe Jim Harbaugh led the Chargers to an 11-6 record. Crazy stuff. Justin Herbert had one of his best games in the season. 350 passing yards, 2 touchdown passes. Rushing game was a bit of mid. Hassan Haskins got the only rushing touchdown in the game for the Chargers. Besides the touchdowns going to DJ Chark and Will Disley, let me talk about what Quentin Johnston real quick. He had the game of his career. 13 catches, 190 total receiving yards. Lamar McConkey also almost had 100 yards receiving, but how about Quentin Johnston with that stat line? I don't think anybody would have predicted that one. Interception by Dion Henley. I believe the Chargers got a couple of fumble recoveries as well. Team played solid all around pretty much. And how about Dicker the Kicker, the bane of my existence in terms of fantasy football, getting 4 or 5 field goals, 14 total points. There was no overtime, but he still had a good game. AOC with 2 touchdowns, a pick, 200 yards. Rushing game definitely did not help at all. Touchdown passes went to Jacoby Myers, who had 9 catches, 123 yards to add to it, and to Brock Bowers. He had a monster season as a tight end, rookie tight end rather, and I hope he does very well. And Michael Mayer has a lot of trade value, so hopefully someone who needs a tight end will be able to use him well. Only one sack for the Raiders defense. They just couldn't seem to get a turnover on the Chargers offense. That really sucks because the Chargers offense on paper is really subpar. But the Raiders, they're just a dumpster fire at the moment. Congratulations, LA Chargers, for your most likely guaranteed trip to the divisional round, because you are playing Houston, but nothing's ever guaranteed, especially in the playoffs. Up next, we got a game that I did not think this was going to be a blowout. Arizona absolutely crushed San Francisco 47-24. Damn. I will say, I did not see this coming, but Brock Purdy was sat out because, there was literally no point in playing the game if you're not going to be in the playoffs anyway. Josh Dobbs is the backup, and he had a pretty decent game. 2 touchdowns, 330 yards, but 2 picks as well. At least Patrick Taylor looked good, and Josh Dobbs also had a rushing touchdown. 2 touchdown passes went to Ricky Pearsall and Kyle Juszczyk. Nice to show a fullback some love. Yeah, defense literally had no life, no heart, no passion. They were just empty souls. Kyler Murray, on the other hand, was the exact opposite. 4 touchdown passes on 250 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns by 2 names I would not be able to say. Tony Jones and Michael Carter. I was not thinking I would say those 2 names in Week 18, but here I am saying it. Trey McBride got a touchdown. Marvin Harrison back in the touchdown club, and 2 touchdowns to Greg Dortch. That's interesting. 2 sacks and 2 interceptions by Sharma Bunting and Kytrell Clark. Very interesting stuff. Arizona Cardinals defense came out to play. An absolute masterclass by the Cardinals offense. Unfortunately, it was all for nothing because now you just missed out on a pretty solid draft pick. I'm not sure if we're ahead of you guys or not, but well, good luck getting some new weapons or maybe an offensive line to protect Kyler Murray, even though you probably won't need it because Kyler's good at running the football. As far as the 7th seed that Buffalo will be facing, it is the Denver Broncos, who got the 2nd shutout of the season, 38-0 against the Kansas City Chiefs backups. Yep, you heard that right. Kansas City rested their starters. This literally meant nothing to them. There was no undefeated season or anything on the line here. It was just resting the starters. 24-day rest for the Kansas City starters continues. Here's one downside. They could be rusty. Carson Wentz sucked. Didn't even get 100 passing yards. And the rushing game sucked as well. Come on, are we even surprised? This is the backups we're talking about. This is like a squad you would start in the preseason. I mean, come on, just absolutely nothing. You should not be surprised about how the backups would do. You would be surprised that the backups can actually score some points against a starter team that's really trying to go for a playoff berth. One of Bo Nix's greatest games of the season. He had 4 touchdown passes with 320 yards. Rushing game was pretty mid except for Ultra Gistame touchdown. 2 touchdowns for Mims, 1 for Vele, and 1 for Sutton, who almost had 100 receiving yards this game. Let me tell you, if the Broncos could get a receiver that can go on the other side of Sutton, this offense could be huge. If Troy Franklin emerges as a top receiver, this offense could be deadly. But you do need to fix that rushing game, though. Seriously. It needs to be checked. And there's also 5 sacks, including 2 from Nick Bonito. They pretty much did what they needed to do to secure themselves a playoff spot. I think the Chiefs were thinking this was the best case scenario, that the Bengals wouldn't be able to miss out on the playoffs thanks to the Broncos winning. Because, Buffalo is going to be on the other side of the bracket, and they could be beaten by any of those, I can't remember, 3 for 6 or 4 for 5 teams that end up making it against them if Buffalo ends up winning. But that's another tale for an entirely different matter. Congratulations, Denver. Now you got to play in the blizzard in Buffalo. I'm praying for y'all. Next up, we got the Seahawks beating the Rams 30-25. Rams have clinched the playoff spot, which now is the 4 seed against an NFC North team that we'll talk about in the final game of this regular season. They might be one of the first teams to go 10-7 and miss the playoffs as far as Seahawks are concerned, but Geno Smith had one of the best games of his career. 4 touchdowns, 220 yards, rushing game was mid. Touchdowns went to 4 different players. Jake Bobo mentioned as a touchdown reception. A.J. Barner, DK Metcalf, and Noah Fant got himself in the touchdown club. 3 sacks in this game, including 2 from Leonard Williams and an interception by Julian Love. Defense did its part, man. And I gotta be honest, after the Raiders stint, I didn't think Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be on the Rams as Stafford's backup, but here we are living in 2024 seeing Jimmy Garoppolo playing football. But he did have a decent game. 340 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Rushing game looks lost without Kyron Williams, though. 2 touchdowns went to Tyler Higbee and Tyler Johnson, the receiver. And the leader receiver in yards was Jordan Whittington with 86 on 3 catches. 2 sacks, but I'm very sure they're resting their starters for the playoffs. And this is going to be a battle between the Rams and an NFC North team that they have played in the past. And at least Josh Carty was actually a very solid kicker. 4 field goals, 13 total points. Very good stuff. Again, how Seattle missed the playoffs despite a 10-7 record, I will never know. But this just shows how stacked the NFC is. AFC, you better beware because the NFC could be coming for that crown. And the final game of this 425 slate, we have the Dolphins missing the playoffs, losing to the Jets 32-20. Even if they won this game, they wouldn't make it because Broncos got a shutout victory over the Chiefs. Snoop absolutely sucked this game. It's 1 touchdown, 2 picks on 200 yards. Devon Achane, 120 yards on 11 yards per carry and a score. We got Jonnu Smith getting the only receiving touchdown of the game for the Dolphins. And I heard that Tyreek Hill might be leaving the Dolphins after this season. Really curious to see where he goes to next. Just don't go to Kansas City. They already got their Tyreek Hill 2.0. We don't need 2 speed demons at receiver for Kansas City. I wish David Stern would come back and say, you're not going to the Chiefs, you're going somewhere else. 3 sacks and an interception by Tyrell Dodson. It didn't really matter because offense couldn't do jack. Aaron Rodgers had the game of his career with the Jets. Just to think that he might be on his way out after only 1 season starting. 280 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a pick. Rushing game was a bunch of mid. Touchdowns went to Devontae Adams, Allen Lazard, Tyler Conklin, and Breece Hall on the receiving end. 3 sacks for the Jets defense, and 2 picks by Ashton Davis. Very solid game from him. If you give Ashton Davis a bit of time, he might turn into a very good defensive back, let me tell you. Let me just say, Jets are a dysfunctional NFL franchise with an absolutely horrific owner who's only focused on Madden ratings. How about I give y'all a 68 overall team overall in Madden, see how you react. You'll probably sell the team then. As for Miami, all I gotta say is better luck next season, just like the Falcons may have to say it. And the final game of the regular season, we had the Lions smacking the Vikings in the battle for the 1 seed of the NFC. 31-9. Ouch. All the hype in the world, everybody just so pumped up for this game. Battle of the 1 seed, battle of the juggernauts in the NFC North, battle to see who's going to get that first round bye in the NFC. And then Sam Darnold comes in there, all hyped, all ready to go for it, and then he puts up a donut. He sucked this game. He looked like a freaking Anthony Richardson in this game. Like, come on, man. How in the world are you going to do that in the last game of the season when a first round bye, the 1 seed, is on the line? How will you do that? Rushing game looked mid, but I don't think anybody cared. I mean, come on, Sam. Your defense got 2 sacks and 2 interceptions courtesy of Ivan Pace and Harrison Smith. Ivan Pace getting interceptions now? But still, your defense did everything they could to get you that number 1 seed, and you could not deliver. That sucks. Don't even get me started on Jared Goff. Despite his efficiency, he did not look good as far as the interceptions to touchdown ratio goes. 230 yards, 1 touchdown, but 2 interceptions, and you still couldn't win Minnesota? You lost by 22, in fact. And then there's Jahmyr Gibbs. Couldn't stop them all game besides the passing game. Passing game was in check, but then you couldn't stop Jahmyr Gibbs for getting 3 touchdowns and 140 rushing yards. Interesting. Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs was at 4 total touchdowns because he had a receiving touchdown as well. At least the one St. Brown led receiving with 77 yards. One thing I did forget to mention was Will Reichard had the only points in this game. At least he showed up as far as points scored. 2 sacks for the Lions defense, but they were just all over the passing game. Rushing game was held in check. Like, this team really had turnovers held to hold them back, but it still wasn't enough. And as punishment for your colossal failure, you're facing the Rams in LA, a team that the Vikings have already lost to earlier this season with a good, healthy roster. History is going to repeat itself, isn't it? Oh boy. Congratulations, Detroit, on your 1 seed. This is the best team ever for Detroit Lions squad in their entire franchise's history. Let's hope you guys can go to a Super Bowl. You're going to probably have to face either Philadelphia or Minnesota, depending on how the bracket works around you. But good luck. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Grizzly Talks Football. I will make sure to get the wild card predictions and also ranking the playoff teams very, very soon. But anyways, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you smash that like button, hit the red subscribe button. Once again, it's all the way down there. You just got to go find it. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single video. It's the Grizz, and this is all from me. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace.